Welcome back to CoSell, Beyond CoSell. How are you doing? How's your trip, Michael?
My trip was excellent. It was awesome. I was in beautiful sunny London. I could say
Yeah.
that. It was unexpected weather.
Yeah, because you did a quite nice post, right? Con got the AWS AI software competency.
Yeah, we
Notes.
got that email like 10 p.m. the night before I was flying home. So it was a good trip, good people. We've talked about, the five or six C's. I'll just call them the six C's, but
Mm.
one of those is champions. And I equate, partnerships to friendships, and I equate champions to friends too, right? They're all synonymous. And the truth is, I've met and worked with a lot of people throughout Europe, mostly at my time at Lacework. So it's been a couple years ago. And I hadn't been to the London Summit in 2 years. I didn't go last year because I was in between kind of roles. And so it was really cool to go back and just see, all the Amazonians that I know in London and, that either stay in London, cover UKI or cover, other parts of EMEA. And I always just say, like, it's really hard to be friends with someone like remotely on Zoom or send in an email. You got to be face to face and sit down and, shake a hand or whatever it is.
Nice, nice. Yeah. I was thinking about that post, and the number you put out there was 279th.
Yeah, actually, I mean,
Uh,
if the website is
no.
true, there's 278
Yeah.
AI competency partners, and those are SIs, ISVs, the whole gambit. And then it's public. You could look up how many partners are in the APN, and the quote right now is 130,000. I've heard 150, but let's just go with 130,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wild.
that's 0.2% of the partner ecosystem that AWS considers is generally competent in AI.
Or that have leaned into AWS and gone through, I don't know, call it the kiss the ring, or have gone through that point. So not to interrupt you, but actually I'm doing this for another reason too. Like, I'm doing this for a lot of reasons. We can unpack this.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I'm doing this is because we compete against a few other companies that maybe haven't started their AWS journey yet. Maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're listed on Marketplace, but they're not an APN partner. And even if they're an APN partner, maybe they've not done any of the competencies that we've done. So I actually, by doing that, I then educate my sales team when they're talking to customers and prospects. Part of that is helping the customer through their required capabilities and why should we pick Kong over some other customer? Like, what makes us better, different, and unique? And honestly, I usually say, like, well, does the other companies you're looking for carry the AWS certifications? Are they a DevOps partner? Are they a competency for security or AI or whatever else? And so I sometimes use that, like, when I was in security, it was like we all were. I was at Lacework, Palo was, Orca was, Wiz was, Aqua Security, Sysdig. We all had it. So if you didn't have it, good luck. Like, you needed that just to kind of be at par so no one could use that against you. But
Mm.
the flip is, now I'm at a company where I look at all the partners we're competing with and none of them have it. And I was like, cool, I'm going on offensive.
Yeah, and I guess
Now,
that's part of
and
your
by the way, if you get into it, that was not an easy competency. There were like 47 controls, and my team, like, hats off to them. Internally, I gave them all credit, up to the CEO, the essays that support. Like, we needed product information, product changes. So these aren't just, oh, checkbox, I think I should get this competency. No, no, no. These are like tests, and there's back and forth proof, documentation. For us, we might have had to make structural changes and then prove that we made those changes. So when AWS does stamp you that you've achieved this thing, for all customers, it may not be important but for a lot of customers, this goes into, hey, if AWS has certified, if I'm close and I trust AWS, and then I've certified this company that does this skill set, that should mean something. So I'll stop talking, but that,
Yeah, and it's very much relating back to your Apple tree, right? So it's about doing the work, investing, planting, watering, and all that sort of thing. Is the AWS Partner Program actually a meritocracy, or is it essentially a funnel that's designed to keep most of the ISVs permanently in the waiting room? And the reason why I say that is there's some challenges around with some of the changes in AWS personnel, the move to AI, automation, and so on. Things around FTR delays. So that's what it got me thinking. And
Oh, actually, so here,
Matt Wise post
all
last week as
okay.
well around Splunk hitting 1 billion. And I'm like, okay, are we talking about the top 1%? And then there's this massive trail. And how easy is it to get into the top?
Uh, yes, but that's the way it's almost always been, right? Yes,
Yeah.
there's less people, there's less PDRs, there's less PDMs. But in parallel, we've talked about this. They are building agents. The agents will get smarter, the agents will get better. And so, okay, maybe there's going to be a virtual coach for a partner that doesn't have a PDM or doesn't have a PSA or needs help escalation or whatever. Those things could be true. And then we haven't talked about it enough, but I was looking for a job for 6 months on my own dime. Why did I go to the AWS Marketplace Seller Conference up in Seattle? Why did I go to the AWS Summit in New York? Like I wasn't working. Sure, I was transitioning. Maybe I was gonna, do what you're doing and do some consultancy or fractional type of work. But there's no way I was gonna not be there and see the people that I know. Or, and maybe actually I kind of interviewed. I met my boss the first time at the New York Summit, right? But it's not like he flew me out or no, I was gonna do it anyway, but it was great. It was an opportunity right then too. So I think part of that is because people help people and friends help friends. And that takes time, energy, effort, and you have to see people and they know things that I don't know. But if you ask a good question, sometimes you get a good answer. So I think these things are not all in a vacuum. They are all connected, right?
When do you know if the apple tree needs watered or whether it's dead? And I was
Yeah.
actually thinking about that. There's a lot of companies out there that I'm in marketplace. What are you doing? I'm not doing anything.
I
So
love this
is it dead
conversation.
or do you need to
Yeah.
put some more water on?
So this is what you'll hear me and you and I've talked about this. Return on I investment. I hate that. It's return on value. So if we joke and we say apples, well, I even unpack that. Well, an apple to one company might be a different apple to another company, right? So that 18 months to get apples, right? Well, how many apples am I going to get? If your answer is how much source business am I going to get out of AWS, that A, that's the wrong question. And B, that's probably not the app that you and I are joking about. So when it comes down to what am I getting, how much am I going to get of it? Well, it depends on how much I'm willing to invest. You're just saying, hey, when's the tree dead?
Yeah.
But the reality was, what is the tree? What are the apples? Like, what's that value? And you are doing this now, and I have done this, especially I do free consulting all the time. I talk to founders all the time. AWS, bless them. Sometimes a startup team will like, hey, can you go talk to this CTO for me and just tell them whatever you do? And I was like, I'm happy to, no problem. Most of the time, I get to the point where in the same analogy, I just kind of paint the picture of this is the thing you got to do and the commitment that you have to have. You should ask yourself right now, do I even plant the seed? Because if you're not prepared to do all this stuff over the next 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, honestly, don't plant the seed. Or in a project engineering, just do marketplace, figure out how to do that. If you've got a pay go type of like PLG motion, cool, do that. That makes perfect sense. Do it on your website, figure out how to hook it into the marketplaces, that kind of stuff. But don't plant the seed is a real option. But if you plant the seed, you're preparing the seedling, the this, I got to water it, I got to keep watering it. You could get scientific with this, which some of the advanced partners we do. We get really scientific. What's the percentage of marketplace versus all sale? What's the percentage of co-sell versus not, right? When AWS is involved with our deal, what's our win rate? When AWS is involved in our deal for its marketplace, what are our new renewal rates like versus without? That's CEO, CFO, CRO level conversations. If I'm trying to get the value of our partnership and the value of our team and the activities, I have to connect it to business value objectives, what those teams care about, what's important to them, revenue, churn, cash, day sales outstanding, pipeline acceleration. So again, entrepreneur, how do you learn all that stuff? I don't know, read Andrew's book, like listen to this show.
That's the metrics and the measurement I'm trying to
You, I
understand.
mean,
It's
you give
pretty
it water and you feed it. And if it keeps growing, it's not dead. But if it doesn't, then it's dead. But you're right. What does that mean or look like?
But it's also when it's rotten, and that's normally
Correct.
what's the one thing, the honest thing that you've learned this week?
I didn't, I don't know if I learn stuff. I mean, I guess I always do because I'm always open to learning and I validate a lot of things that you and I talk about. The quote from this week from my boss and I who traveled together, which was fun, was like showing up. He was just like, I would say something to him like this kismet moment, or we met this person, or I told you about the GSI. He's like, we just showed up, right? So like showing up is probably the validation, but it's the thing I learned. And it unpacks into champions, right? Or just the commitment, but like the human connections. This is as much as AI is going to take over the world and should help each one of us in some ways. There's still something human about people and those interactions and those conversations that you can't substitute. And I met a lot of people this week that I have seen on Zoom over the last year or 6 months, and they're like, oh, you're like a real human, right? And then you have a fun conversation. And of course, you learn something or you build a new friendship or a partnership. But showing up and, AI can replace a lot of things, but it can't replace the human, right? And with that, I think this was a fun conversation.
It was really good. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. All right, buddy.